All around the world, in bathrooms, hotel rooms, changing rooms, and other rooms, people are being watched through two-way mirrors. To test whether or not you're being spied on, put your fingernail against the mirror, and if there is a gap, then it's a regular mirror. If there is not, then you're being watched. No space? Leave the place. Every family in every town, in every country on every continent has one. It's a cabinet. Not particularly odd, not out of place. The paint was peeling a bit on the corners and the knob was a bit loose. The inside smelled like dust and the paint wasn't the same as the kitchen walls. You hid in there once during a game of hide and seek. No one told you it doesn't open back into your reality. Don't worry, you can't tell the difference, but everyone misses you. Do you remember when we used to play hide and seek? I had so much fun knowing that I had a friend to play with every night. I remember the nights when you would lay there under the blankets in your room, shaking with anticipation because you knew I was there, but you just couldn't see me. You thought I couldn't see you. Every night since you were young, I have let you win. The fun was in the game. You're older now, and we haven't played in quite a while. Perhaps we should start again. I'm getting bored with hide and seeks, though. I don't have to let you win anymore. So tonight the game is tag, and I'm it. I walked into the room and I saw just one candle glowing. My folks were sitting around the table patiently staring at it. "He's here, I can feel it," the lady said, as I noticed they were all holding hands. "Daddy, I had a bad dream." You blink your eyes and pull up on your elbows. Your clock glows red in the darkness. It's 3:23. "Do you want to climb into bed and tell me about it?" "No, Daddy." The oddness of the situation wakes you up more fully. You can barely make out your daughter's pale form in the darkness of your room. "Why not, sweetie?" "Because in my dream, when I told you about the dream, the thing wearing Mummy's skin sat up. For a moment you feel paralyzed. You can't take your eyes off your daughter. The covers behind you begin to shift. One night, I picked up a hitchhiker. He seemed all right when he got into my car, but he didn't say a word. I turned on the radio to cover the awkward silence as I drove. He hurriedly turned it off. There was a panicked look in his eyes. "They hide the voices that way," he said. I figured he was just drunk and I dropped him off at his house to sleep it off. Ever since then, whenever I turn on the radio, I hear a strange static noise. It sounds like thousands of voices whispering in unison. If you listen closely, you can hear them say horrible, unspeakable things. So please, don't turn on the radio. They hide the voices that way. I can see you through the window. I'm standing in the reflection. Can you hear me whispering in the hallway? Does my voice sound strange? Do you see my shadow move near you in the darkness? I want to make more friends, and Mommy longs for company too. I hear you coming, walking in front of the mirror with the lights on. I wave, but you can't see me. Turn the lights off, then we can play. You can see the dark pits where my eyes once were. My soul left with them. Did you hear that? That was my scream, pleading for you to turn off the lights. When we play together, they will see you in the window. I watched as my soon-to-be father-in-law held his daughter's hand as he walked down the aisle. Tears streamed down his face as the wedding march that played in the background reminded him that, in a few minutes, he would be watching me hold his daughter's hand and slipping on her ring. He walked up to the altar and I took hold of her hand, grinning from ear to ear. It was the happiest day of my life. My bride's father got down on his knees and started begging, "Please, I did what you asked. Just please give me my daughter back." I glared at him. "Shut up and stop ruining the moment. If you sit back down and enjoy the ceremony, maybe I'll tell you where I've hidden the rest of her body." I don't really remember all of the details because my dad told me this story several years ago, but here it goes. When my dad was younger and still living in Poland, he and a few of his friends took a trip and one night decided to stay at a bed and breakfast type place. Everything seemed normal until he suddenly woke up in the middle of the night. He told me he felt some sort of presence behind him, so he slowly turned around, but there was no one there. He swears he could feel someone there on the bed with him though, along with a slight shift in pressure on the bed. It went away after a few minutes and my dad went back to sleep. The next morning he found out that a man had died in the bed about a week or so prior. Once while I was walking on a sidewalk, I saw a teen couple about the age of 18 walking down the road. I passed them and said, "Hello," but they didn't reply. About 4 weeks later, I saw the same couple and greeted them with a "hello" again. This time, they replied saying, "Hi, sweetie." After about a month, I read an article about two teenagers who were beaten to death at a local barber shop. Pictured in the article was the couple I met on the sidewalk. At about 9:30 p.m., I got a letter in the letterbox with no contact information. I opened the letter and it said, "Hi, sweetie." You remember how you used to be so scared when the lights go out and the shadows would play tricks with your mind? The way every blow of the wind was breath from something evil and malevolent, and every thump was the step of something getting closer and closer. You would call out for Mommy and Daddy and they would reassure you that you were safe and they wouldn't let nothing hurt or get to you. Well, I was just remembering that too. I can't wait to come creeping for you again at night. My every step a loud thump, or maybe a quiet creak in the hallway. My breathing loud and labored like an angry wind blowing through dead trees. And I almost forgot. Your Mommy and Daddy, they're not around anymore. You're the manager for a small store. You hired one of your friends and you just found out that he's been stealing from the register, stealing stock and abandoning his post to visit with his girlfriend in the back room while he's the only one on duty. And the argument you just had with him at the office just didn't settle it for you. You pound on his door. When he opens up, he goes pale, soils himself, and staggers back, gasping for breath. It doesn't impress you. Really, you figure he just thinks you're there, showing up with the cops, until you step through his door and glance to the side, where you get a good look at yourself in the mirror, or at least the parts of you that are still recognizable after that shotgun blast that your friend gave you at the end of the argument. Next time you take a bath, place your head under the water and close your eyes. You don't have to submerge your mouth or nose, just enough to where your ears and eyes are under. Listen closely. Do you hear the noise? It sounds like wet footsteps. That's the sounds of the drowned dead walking. Do you see the water playing tricks in the shadows? That's them coming to welcome a new member to their ranks. Remember how I said not to put your nose and mouth under? That's important. After hearing them in the water once, you will hear them anytime. Don't worry, that sound you just heard, like mushy wet footsteps, and that strange shadow form from the corner of your eye, that's just them checking on the next person to join their march. It was her eyes that first attracted me to her. I didn't believe in love, but the first time I gazed into her beautiful green eyes, I knew she was the one. I loved seeing myself reflected in those eyes, looking deep into her soul and knowing I was a part of it. It's kind of stupid, but I even wrote poetry about them. I don't remember much, but I told her, "There's so much life within your eyes, and I'm so much in love." Oh God, I loved the way the light danced within them. I just couldn't imagine not being able to stare dreamily into them. Now, if I could just find a box that was half as beautiful as her eyes, I could stop carrying them around in my pocket. I don't know why I looked up, but when I did, I saw him there. He stood against my window. His forehead rested against the glass, and his eyes were still and light, and he smiled a lipstick red, cartoonish grin. And he just stood there in the window. My wife was upstairs sleeping. My son was in his crib, and I couldn't move. I froze and watched him looking past me through the glass. Oh, please no. His smile never moved, but he put a hand up and slid it down the glass, watching me, with matted hair and yellow skin, and a face through the window. I couldn't do anything. I just stayed there frozen, feet still in the bushes I was pruning, looking into my home. He stood against my window. Remember this. Should you ever despair of life so much that you wanted to die, you have the means at hand and yearn to end your life. You have written a suicide note to those you will leave behind, and you are prepared to die. At that moment, stop. Get a pair of scissors. Cut away at the note until you end up with a piece of paper in the shape of a key. Go to a door. Anyone will do. Push the paper key forward and turn your hand as if unlocking an imaginary lock. The lock is real. Open the door. There you will find it, the other Earth, the one that awaits to replace this one when it dies. That death is inevitable, but in the meantime, the other Earth will belong to you. Be warned, the other Earth is very different from this one. The most likely place for a person to disappear is a parking lot, especially at large retail stores or amusement parks. It's not always a kidnapping, although that's what the owners like to say. The truth is, many parking lots are built over old cemeteries. The owners buy the property and move the graves, but they always seem to miss a few. These few try to get out and find company again, but the asphalt is usually too thick. Sometimes, though, they get through and people disappear. The lot owners then pave over the hole and forget about it. So, next time you're going through a parking lot late at night, trying to find your car, mind the potholes, and don't listen to the person in the black suit who asks for help. Remember, they bury the dead in black suits. A 16-year-old boy works on his grandfather's horse farm. One morning he drove a pickup truck into town on an errand. While he was walking along Main Street, he saw death. Death beckoned him. The boy drove back to the farm as fast as he could and told his grandfather what had happened. "Lend me the truck," he begged. "I'll go to the city. He won't find me there." His grandfather lent him the truck, and the boy sped away. After he left, his grandfather went into town looking for Death. When he found him, he asked, "Why did you frighten my grandson that way? He's only 16. He is too young to die." "I'm sorry about that," said Death. "I did not mean to beckon to him, but I was surprised to see him here. I have an appointment with him this afternoon in the city."
There was a little boy who was afraid of everything. He had an intense fear of his bedroom closet especially. Every night when he went to bed, he was terrified. His parents asked him what was wrong, and he told them he was afraid there was a monster living in his closet. The boy's older brother decided to prove that nothing to fear in that closet. One night, he got into the closet and shut the door behind him. A few seconds later, the young boy heard terrible cries and screams coming from the closet. At first, he was frightened, but then he realized that his older brother was just playing a prank on him. A minute later, the cries ceased and the room was filled by an eerie silence. Cautiously, the boy approached the closet and slowly opened the door. There was nobody inside. There was a bus driver who worked for the county hospital. One day, he was transporting 20 mental patients to the state insane asylum. On the way, he got thirsty and decided to stop for a few drinks at a bar. When he got back to his bus, he was shocked to find it empty. The mental patients had somehow managed to get free and all of them had escaped. Worried that he would lose his job, the crafty bus driver came up with an idea. He drove the bus downtown and pulled over at the first bus stop he found. He opened the doors and all the people waiting there got on the bus. The bus driver took them to the insane asylum and told the staff that these patients were especially violent and had to be restrained. It took many months before the staff of the insane asylum realized their mistake. By that time, many of the people had actually gone insane. The real mental patients have still not been found.
If you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. If you'd like to, you can follow me at Twitter. The handle is @FuzzyPantaloons, and I'll see you all next time.